Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Weaver. Welcome to the Audio Analyst. Pardon me. Pacific Audiofest director Lou Hinkley, who is also the owner, designer, and craftsman behind the Daedalus audio loudspeakers of Ferndale, Washington, and his partner in this new and exciting show, Gary Gill, who is also the owner and organizer of the Capital Audiofest, were both good enough to make a little time to share their thoughts with us on the first Pacific Audiofest, held just this past July 29th through 31st at the SeaTac Doubletree Hilton in Seattle, Washington. Let's hear what they had to say.
All right, everybody. As I said, here are the two cats from Pacific Audio Fest. We've got, I can't see my own notes here. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to make sure I know which one's director and which one's manager. So we've got Lou Hinkley, who's the director of the Pacific Audio Fest, the new Pacific Audio Fest, and Gary Gill, who is the show manager and also the runner and owner of the Capital Audio Fest, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But guys, first of all, I can't thank you enough for having us up there. Other than the weather being a little testy for a guy like me, I'm a polar bear. I prefer it a little cooler than it was. I thought it was absolutely stunning first event, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't talk to anybody who didn't agree that it was a good time. There were some whiners, guys like me too. I mean, the weather was unseasonably warm. Not right. Your fault. Nothing you could do about it. I get that. And in fact, you've thought about maybe changing dates to deal with that. We'll talk about that in a bit. Right. But other than that, I mean, such a great group of people. I mean, the rooms, I think I mentioned this in my show report, and it's interesting. Some other journalists I spoke with, we felt the rooms in general, not just the big rooms, but the standard hotel-sized rooms sounded pretty good. I mean, we've been to shows where the rooms just, it's hard as hell to get it right. And these rooms overall sounded pretty good. So people were pretty pleased with that. How did you guys feel it worked out?
Well, Greg, I've been an exhibitor for 30 years. And that's one of the main reasons we chose this hotel were those standard rooms, because they are the best rooms I have ever exhibited in at any show in the world in the last 30 years. They're large, they're well built, and they sound great. And they did. It made a difference. Everybody, we just didn't have any bad rooms at the show. I mean, everything sounded, ranged from good to spectacular.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was just simply good rooms. The modern hotels of 13-foot wide rooms, it's just with built-in furniture. How do you set up a system in there?
Yeah. Well, I said in my show report that I wasn't sure if it was the dimensions or the building materials or whatever, because that part of the hotel was it started in the 60s. It was built in the 60s.
It was built in 1970, I think.
The add-on was in the 1970s. The initial part, according to them, I went and talked to them. The initial part of the hotel was built in the late 60s, and then they added on the towers in the 70s.
Yeah, it opened in 1970, I think.
Okay.
You're right.
I was fascinated to see it was built on right around that lake. A lot of it's on pylons and stuff. It's kind of cool.
Right.
So, Gary, what'd you think? Did you get around to some of the rooms? I know you guys were busier than hell, but did you get around?
I did near the tail end.
Cool.
But I'd say to add on to what Lou said, the rooms are amazing. The only issues we found were in the wings, both wings 2 and 7.
Yeah.
Was that as you hinted at, they were built with wood.
Yeah.
And we found that some of the floors were a little soft.
A little springy.
Little bit. I mean, for some analog setups, it was a little soft. It was sort of like being in your dorm room in college with your buddy dancing around. Yeah. But now we think we can solve that by just alerting people. And if you put your analog setup right next to one of the sidewalls, there is no jumping up and down. But otherwise, as Lou hinted at, the standard rooms they're very large and they're way above industry standards. So it's great.
Yeah. Well, to the person, every journalist and some of the showgoers and some of the exhibitors I spoke with, we all agreed that there was something special about these rooms. They just worked.
Right.
I mean, it was pretty surprising.
Sorry to jump on there also. Vac and von Schweikert really kicked ass.
Oh my God!
In their room, I mean, they took the time. They came in a couple days early, took the time, and they really made a major effort with their pipe and drape, etc., to make that room sound amazing.
Well, I talk about it.
Happy with that.
Absolutely, buddy. It was a staggering room, and I did my my Fab Five YouTube channel report last Sunday where I talk about that room, and in the coming there'll be a print version of that coming up. Excuse me. And I talk about, that room was 65 by 60 by 14, and they used different densities and thicknesses of drapes in that amazing support system, and cut it down by about 10 feet on each side and by about 15 feet front to back. Right. And dude, I've reported on von Schweikert rooms for so long. Many of us thought that even though this was their first shot in that room, that this is probably, arguably, one of the best performances they've ever gotten at a show. So I completely agree with you, buddy. They did one hell of a job in that room. It was amazing.
I talked to Amy for a while, and he was like, I was totally, he was totally surprised. He was pleasantly surprised.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were pulling their hair out when they first got into that room. I mean,
they went from being like, "Oh, this is the worst room ever," to "This is the best room."
Exactly.
Yeah. They were kind of shocked looking at it. But anyway, I think the smaller rooms that were, and I don't think everybody took the time and care that the audio company Vac and von Schweikert took to set up. But overall, for the most part, Lou, as you suggested, most of the rooms, I mean, there were some rooms there that I thought were, no big deal. But I didn't hear any rooms that made me, well, I won't say that. There were very few rooms that made me uncomfortable when I got in there because of the way the room was. Okay. And again, what was it? There were 52 or 53 rooms at this event?
Rooms.
How many?
52, I believe.
Yeah. And you said you had 1,400 people in attendance. And I think that's amazing for an inaugural show in the Pacific Northwest. And the other thing that I think is important, and I talked to some guys who don't get this, some of the vendors, not the showgoers, but they felt, well, why weren't there more people just walking through kicking tires? And I'm like, I don't think that's the right approach. You could have had a lot of Sunday drivers just pulling in and walking around kicking tires. But for the most part, the 1,400 that showed up were there because they cared about what we do in this industry. And they wanted to either listen to something to make a purchase decision or to at least get a sense of what they wanted to put on their short list of gear.
Yeah, I want to say, again, 30 years of being an exhibitor, I've been on the other side of this for a long time.
Yes.
And, just getting bodies into the show doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help the exhibitors. They're trying to get serious people to listen to the room, and it's filled with people who are just out for a day's entertainment.
Yeah.
And then for the attendees, people that if you have a lot of tire kickers and everything, then the noise level goes up, it becomes uncomfortable. We had all people that were very seriously into audio. And it was quality traffic. And
absolutely.
For the inaugural year, I think we did great. And you can't bring in bodies. So it takes time to grow this. Yeah. Next year, I'm sure we will have, triple the attendance.
Yeah.
But it will be quality. It'll be people that are serious about it. So you can walk into a room, and the room will be filled, and people will be quiet, listening, as opposed to conversations all over because they don't care.
And they don't know any better that other people are trying to listen to.
The goal here was really to bring in that quality traffic. I think we did that.
I think if you succeeded at that, yes.
Spots and such and gotten bodies in, but that would not have helped anybody.
It's not the same.
No.
No, it was, guys, honestly, I've been doing this. Well, I've been doing this since the 70s. So I got to tell you, I think as an inaugural show goes, you guys kicked it out of the park. I think it was fabulous.
Thank you.
Really well done, guys. The vibe, I said this in my first show report. The vibe and the attitude and the camaraderie there, it had that sense that Gary, you've gotten with Capital to some degree, and that Marjorie had with Rocky Mountain.
Right.
And with Marjorie being there, I even said that this was kind of like an official passing of the torch from Rocky Mountain, which we mourn and miss because it's no longer available. But I think you guys have got the right stuff to make this the right show.
Well, I want to say something about that because Marjorie is wonderful, and I mean she had her badge. I suggested, she said, I don't know what to write. And I said, Queen of Audio Shows. And so I guess she liked the suggestion, but
that's funny.
She was like, she made Rocky Mountain, especially in the old days, 10 years ago, was just a friendly, fun community show. Everybody had a great time and did great business. And that's been our goal for Gary and mine right from day one. That was my vision. I mean, I wanted to do this for years and to see this come together. And Marjorie is so helpful. And I mean, she did. She came in there and she just took over the registration office, for 3 days. It was amazing. Oh, yeah. It's like, bam, okay. She's in her element.
Well, that's what I said in my show report, even that, she was helping everybody. She was everywhere. What can I do to help you? What do you need? What are you looking for? It was fabulous. It was fabulous.
And like when I first came up with the idea, there were a couple of people that I talked to. I mean, of course, Gary was the first person I talked to, and just, and that's when we started our partnership, working together on this, with him helping. But I called up Marjorie, and and she was still doing Rocky Mountain. She had not retired. And I told her, I said, well, this is my idea and what I'm doing. We're putting this together. First words out of her mouth were, how can I help?
Of course. It's just who she is, man. I mean,
from day one. So I just want to just thank you, Marjorie.
We miss you, lady. We miss you.
Oh, I'm sure she'll be back with us next year.
Good.
And speaking of next year, I've been working with a hotel, and the end of July, the odds of an unusually hot weekend are a little bit higher than I'd like. I mean, normally it's like in the 70s here. Nice.
It was Sunday, the day I left. It was beautiful.
Yeah. And
or Monday, rather. I'm sorry, Monday.
Monday I was wearing flannel shirts. So I've negotiated with them new dates. So next year, the 2023 will be June 23rd to 25th.
Outstanding.
Moving
so about 5 weeks up.
5 weeks up. Now we could still have an unusually hot weekend, but it's the odds are much lower. So we'll probably have really nice weather then. Plus, it will not impact on people's summer vacations.
Right. So, well, guys, be sure and set my reservation because I'm coming.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it also says, if you want to come to the Pacific Audio Fest and make it part of your vacation, it's still a great time to do it.
Right. You can do that too.
So, I mean, my wife and I, we spent a day or so afterwards and really enjoyed ourselves just going downtown.
Yeah.
And there were I'd say a lot of tourists down there.
There were.
So we hit the tourist locations, and then we also hit a few other things too that were not as touristy, but man, it was a great time. It's a wonderful city. Of course, every city's got their pros and cons.
Sure.
It was a good time. I recommend
it. Absolutely. Well, guys, listen, I don't want to hold you too long. Gary, I do want to touch on, we have this will be the 11th Capital Audiofest?
Yes.
Yes. And you're set for November 11th through 13th in Rockville, Maryland.
Correct.
Reserve my room, buddy. I'm coming to that one again. I haven't missed one of those for a while now. anything you want to talk about real quickly that's going to be going on there this year?
Well, let me go back first.
Sure.
Back to Lou, and
Yeah.
I'm glad Lou and I did this together, because I tell you what, in most any business relationship, I'm glad that we have a good personal relationship,
Sure.
and also it conveyed into a good business relationship,
Yeah.
and we have the same vision, and we also, which conveyed into the having the same, as you well observed, the same feel for the Pacific Audio Fest.
That
Same.
vibe.
And the same thing's going to continue on at the Capital Audiofest. And I mean, we're going to have, so right now we're 2.5 months out, and I've sold out the atrium, the 3rd floor and the 5th floor, and I'm selling the 6th floor now. So I'm about 65 to 70-ish rooms right now. And it would be great to get back to the pre-COVID levels.
Yeah.
I mean, before I had 89 rooms, but I'm still very happy of the trajectory. And it's looking good. It's really looking good, and we're going to have live music and just like we had at the Pacific Audio Fest.
Yeah.
Not as good as the big band and at Maxie's, but
Yeah, well,
that was stellar.
yeah,
That was amazing.
that's what everybody said.
Yeah.
I didn't make it. I was out for dinner both nights, but that's what everybody said.
Yeah.
And Haley Loren was amazing too.
Yeah.
That won't be up to par with that, but still, we're going to have some good live music at the Capital Audio Fest.
All right, guys.
A lot of fun.
Any last words before we sign off today?
Just put it on the calendars.
Definitely, both shows. Put us on the calendars.
Lou, give us the dates in June again.
They're June 23rd to 25th, 2023. And actually, I'm working on a multi-year contract, so we should have the same weekend in 2024.
Good. Good.
And
Gary, remind us of November dates.
I'm sorry, Capital Audio Fest this year is November 11th through the 13th. And it's going to, I'm working on a 2-year deal with the same hotel.
Cool.
So it's
I
going to
love
be
that hotel, by the way.
each year. So in 2 years, though, we have, it's election time. So I'm going to avoid the first weekend and going to try and be the second weekend of the month from now on.
That makes sense. Sense.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thanks again for such an amazing time. The hospitality at Pacific Audio Fest was first rate.
Right.
I had such a grand time.
Thank you.
Guys, I wish you nothing but continued success with both shows.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking time today, guys.
All right.
All right.
Thanks a bunch.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Lou and Gary. I'm looking forward to both the Capital Audio Fest, set for November 11th through 13th in Rockville, Maryland this year, as well as the next Pacific Audio Fest, which is slated for its new dates, June 23rd through the 25th of 2023. Put them both on your calendars, as they are not to be missed highlights of our annual show season. And just to give you an idea of some of the things coming soon, Danielle Cohen, an Italian aerospace engineer and the designer behind Alsavox Audio Design, and I have been trying to get me in front of a set of these superbly crafted, stunning sounding, Spanish-built planar dynamic loudspeakers for something like 5 years now. But with the concerns that my room may not allow them to perform at their best, I am happy to share that Brooklyn's Rhapsody Audio owner and Alsavox Audio Design dealer, Bob Vicentainer, I hope I've pronounced that properly, Bob, has invited me for an extended visit in early September for a private audition of the beautiful and engaging $135,000 a pair Botticelli X. I can't wait to share that experience with you. And Alon Wolf, CEO and founder of Magico Loudspeakers, and Peter McKay, Magico's Vice President of Global Sales and Marketing, have invited me to Hayward, California, to hear and report on Magico's statement loudspeaker, the M9, this October. Now, this no-holds-barred designed loudspeaker stands 6 foot 8 inches tall, weighs in at an astounding 1 ton a pair, with a price of $750,000. Now, I'm also going to have time to conduct an interview with Alon and do a factory tour, so stay tuned. As always, thank you for taking the time to drop by today. Please click the subscribe and notify buttons if you haven't already. Be sure to share your comments or questions. And please don't forget to like and share links to your favorite episodes with your friends or on social media. Further information on supporting the channel may be found in today's description section or at my website, theaudioanalyst.com. Please stay safe and keep the music playing. Till next time, cheers.